He's just like me. Anyways, hello and welcome to Academic Abe. For this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, which I hope you'll enjoy. Tonight's programming includes sad boy hours, a little bit of clowning, and death. So, this Halloween, if you want to learn about a different kind of scary clown, stay tuned. We're all gonna die someday. Might as well make the most of it. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him. A fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. And now, how abhorred in my imagination he is. Meet Yorick, or what used to be Yorick. One of the characters from Hamlet. Well, character more or less, since he's, like I said, dead. Basically, he was like the court jester of Hamlet. So basically he was Hamlet's childhood friend, kind of like the comedian, the clown for the Hamlet household. And then as Hamlet grew up, went off to boarding school, went off to a different country to study. Somewhere along the way, Yorick passed away, was buried for a long time actually, according to the play, and he's just forgotten, lost his sands of time. He was in basically what amounts to like an unmarked mass grave, with like only one person remembering him, Hamlet, one of the people closest to him, having no idea what had happened. So the scene I was just trying to do a one-man reenactment of, it's the graveyard scene. Basically the context for it is Hamlet like having escaped from almost being kidnapped away to England to be executed. It's a long story, you should like read or watch the play, preferably both, highly recommend. Anyways, he's at this graveyard with his like best friend Horatio, and then talking to this gravedigger. They're like, joking, bantering, normal graveyard conversations, um, and so they're just talking, and then they see this skull, and Hamlet asks whose skull that is, and the gravedigger's like, you'll never guess whose, and he doesn't guess, so he just tells them it's Yorick's, and then that's where Hamlet has a moment, realizing that that's basically like his childhood best friend, the court jester. He's just there, gone, like he was this whole person, and now he's just a skull. And it really hits him. He just thinks to himself, and says out loud as well, like, he just ponders about, like, mortality, and how we all just, like, become dust. How, like, great men like Alexander the Great, well, great in terms of, like, power, just die anyways. We're all just become nothing eventually. We're victims to entropy. Which is funny, because Hamlet himself is a victim to his own story. He's plagued by action and inaction. He's enslaved to his own story, which, if you've seen recent media or anything, maybe like certain anime, seems familiar to you, right? Okay, yeah. Anyways, so Hamlet just ponders mortality, something he just does very often throughout this play. And then subsequently, there's a fight scene, a brawl scene between him and what you would call his foil, or like pretty much a character who's like opposite of him, Laertes. And so they have this fight basically, and after this fight in the graveyard, which is very dramatic, they have it like in the middle of a grave. Again, I'm not doing it enough justice. Please just enjoy the play somehow. So they have this brawl, and then this brawl in the graveyard and this whole graveyard scene basically like seals both of their fates. So to me, it's like one of the very most important scenes in the whole play, because this puts them both on the trajectory where they're gonna like just meet each other at their own deaths, because subsequently they're both emboldened to have this formal duel afterwards, where, again, spoilers now, in this duel Hamlet kills Laertes with a poisoned blade after Laertes stabs him with the same poison blade. Hamlet dies first. Hamlet dies after, because of course he's the main character, so he's got to have more speaking lines. Point being, this graveyard scene, it's as if it's like Hamlet's last chance at like not accepting the inevitability of his death. He really ponders it one last time in like a very powerful setting, being in the graveyard, and he still decides to like choose violence. Man's literally woke up and chose violence pretty much every day in the play. So he makes that same mistake again. He fights Laertes in the graveyard. Granted, he is grief-stricken and also kind of insane, kind of pretending to be insane. Really hard to tell. But still, he makes that choice. And I believe that choice really helps seal his fate. Hello, and welcome to an intermission of sorts. I'll answer two things right off the bat. So first off, I'm wearing my AirPods because there is quite the commotion downstairs, and I don't want that to bleed through into the audio, so hopefully with these on, you can just hear my voice and not the party downstairs. Man, gotta love college, right? Anyways, now as for the mask, so I'm indoors in my dorm room, all by myself, alone. It'd be like that, Gotta love college, man. Anyways, I'm wearing it because it has a cool skeleton on it, and it fits with the theme, so yeah. Anyways, that brings us to, so for this part of the video, I'm going to be focusing on like skull anatomy. So there's like 8 cranial bones, which are in this general area, and 14 facial bones, which are in this general area. So let's start off. So first off, you have the frontal bone, you have these 2 parietal bones, you have this occipital bone in the back, so that's right now 4, and you have these 2 temporal bones here and here. That brings us to 6. I can do math. And then the last 2 bones, the last 2 cranial bones, you can't really see them too well because, well, this is a plushie. But they would be here, and they would be the ethmoid bone and the sphenoid bone. So now, the 14 facial bones consist of 6 pairs of bones and 2 unpaired bones, which are the mandible here and the bomber here, that white stripe. And I know what bomber sounds like. Anyways, so we have the maxillae, which are around here and are like symmetrical. And then there's the zygomatic bones here. And then the rest focus more on like the nose area. So we have the lacrimal bones here. And then here we have the actual nasal bones. And then inside here, which you can't really see because it's a plushie, you have the palatine bones and the nasal conchae. And so yeah, those are the 14 facial bones. And if you're wondering why I keep looking off to the side, well, I'm not pre-med, so I don't really have to memorize these. maybe in another life. Anyways, let's get back to the scene. Yorick also symbolizes the death of childhood. As I said before, he was Hamlet's childhood friend, so he serves as this reminder to Hamlet that his childhood's over, it's gone, it's as dead as Yorick. And it's just another reminder of how his childhood's gone. The reason why Hamlet came back to Denmark, came back to Elsinore, the kingdom in the first place, is because his dad's gone. And now he has to really just grow up. He's in the role where he's very much the next in line for the throne, and he has to grow up. He has to go from just being this immature kid to just being the next ruler of Denmark. And that's also something he's not ready for, in addition to grieving his father and just having this darkness within him. He's just not ready for all that. And it seems in his childhood he was just so much better off, and the fact that he's just being confronted with this idea that his childhood's over, that his childhood's dead, it just seems too much for him as well. And I feel that's one of the final components that really pushes him to pursue his own death, or just pursue action at any cost, even if it means his own death. So, in my belief, Hamlet was ultimately driven to his death by that graveyard scene, where he was confronted with really physical death, decay, entropy, but also the death of his childhood, realizing that he's not going to get that time back, and that there was nothing left for him in the past. So, with that, he was resigned to his death. He chose to die. He chose to not change, to just be stuck there. But Hamlet's a fictional character. He was always meant to die. He was always meant to be unchangeable. We're not. We're all real. We have the power to change ourselves, to not end up like Hamlet. If there's anything I've learned this past year, is that you have the power to change your own story. Man, I love making references that no one will get. With that in mind, stay safe, stay smart, and stay true to your heart. This is Academic Abe, signing off. To be, or not to be? I'm sorry, what was the question again? To be positive for COVID, or not to be positive for COVID? I know the answer to the question wasn't a good one. You'll find out more in COVID Part 3 in Abiotic Abe series. Stay tuned.